Somewhere on the outskirts of a thick jungle, a house burns. A few meters ahead of that house is another house, with bloody handprints all over the place. What must have happened remains a mystery for now. Louis Creed, an doctor, along with his wife Rachel, their 2 young children, Ellie and Gage, and Ellie's pet cat, Church, are moving to Ludlow, Maine, from Boston, Massachusetts. They soon stop by a beautiful house, and Ellie runs to get a better look at their new home, and the huge jungle behind the house is their backyard. Louis gives Ellie the keys to the house and asks her to go in first. Meanwhile, Rachel unbuckles little Gage and gets him out of the child's seat. She is standing with Gage in her arms when a loud truck passes by, making Rachel jolt with the sudden noise. Louis curses the truck driver under his breath and asks if Rachel is fine. She says she got startled a bit, but she's fine. The kids are curious and quickly adapt to their new home. Rachel understands Louis needed a change after spending most of his time at the hospital. Now he'll be able to come home often and spend more time with his family. The next day, Louis starts his new job as a university doctor. Ellie is helping Rachel clear the boxes when they hear drums from nearby. A procession of kids is passing by. They have animal masks on and are carrying the body of a dog that they're taking to the pet cemetery. Ellie is keen to know more about it and stares at the children her age. The last girl turns around to look at her once and then continues walking. Rachel calls her back to divert Ellie's attention. She would be lying if she didn't find the whole thing creepy. But who could keep a child's curiosity at bay? Finding the opportunity, Ellie sneaks out of the house and soon reaches the pet cemetery. There are many graves with makeshift memorial crosses, and a long wall made of logs, dirt, thorns, and dried branches forming the boundary of the small cemetery. Ellie is curious to see what is on the other side of the wall. She starts climbing it, but a voice from behind startles her, and as she falls, a bee stings her. The older man is Judson Crandall. He helps get the sting out of her leg and puts mud on the wound. She asks about the kids, and Judd tells her that many people like to perform a ritual. Rachel soon arrives there and, after sharing pleasantries with Judd, takes Ellie back. Judd reminds them not to wander in the woods alone, as they're not safe. Once alone, someone whispers Judd's name from the other side of the wall, calling him back. At home, Rachel and Louis try talking to Ellie about the universal truth once the topic starts, with Ellie telling Louis about the cemetery in the woods. Where Louis is more practical, Rachel talks about their loved ones watching over them. Once they go back to their room, Louis shares his disagreement on the topic. Rachel is reminded of her sister, who passed away young. Louis is exhausted till lunch. He has been continuously seeing patients since morning, but as he's leaving for lunch, a panicked student covered in blood rushes into the hospital. One of the kids, Victor Pascal, was skateboarding when a car came out of nowhere and struck him, dragging him along. The insides of his entire right side are exposed, and one can see his brain. Louis gives the instructions to the staff, as there is not enough time, but Victor passes away. Louis is alone when it happens. He takes a step back to catch his breath when he gasps, seeing Victor sit up on the bed. It is baffling for him to see a boy who just passed away sit like this. And even more baffling is that he speaks and says the barrier is not meant to be broken. Louis is deeply disturbed by what happened. He thinks of sharing it with Rachel, but then decides against it. Ellie invites Judd for dinner, and the family enjoys getting to know their neighbor and the area better. However, Louis finds it odd that Judd is a little secretive when talking about the extent of the property behind their house. Louis cannot sleep at night. He hears Victor whispering his name and decides to follow him to the pet cemetery. But as soon as he starts climbing the wall, a freakishly white hand holds him down, and Victor yells that the place is where the ghosts walk. He warns him again not to go there. Louis wakes up with a start as Gage calls out to him. He chose to believe what happened last night was just a dream, but when he sees his muddy feet, he is shocked that it might not have been a dream after all. It is Halloween. Judd signals Louis to come and shows him Church, who passed away after being hit by a truck. Judd proposes they bury him that night. Rachel cries as Louis tells her what happened, but it is more because she can't stop thinking about her sister, Zelda. Louis knows there is more to Rachel's tears, so Rachel shares that Zelda hated her because she had a twisted spine, and Rachel didn't. She promised Rachel that one day her spine would also be like Zelda's, and then she wouldn't be able to get out of bed. Her parents had left Rachel alone with Zelda, and she was supposed to bring dinner for Zelda. She used the dumbwaiter, even though she wasn't supposed to, and that evening, Zelda fell down the dumbwaiter and lost her life. Rachel blames herself for her sister's passing. Louis says it is not her fault. They decide to tell their kids that Church ran away. At night, Judd and Louis go to bury Church, but Judd doesn't want Ellie to get upset after losing her favorite cat. So he takes Louis to the other side of the wall, and they walk for some time, stepping in a stream full of human bones, but unknown to them as the stream is covered with thick fog. They climb the stairs carved into a hill, and on top of it, Judd asks Louis to bury his cat. Judd knows something, but he's not telling Louis. The next morning, Rachel and Louis tell Ellie that Church ran away, but she says he didn't because he came back last night. Louis is baffled to see Church sitting in Ellie's closet, but he seems aggressive and blankly stares back at Louis. Louis goes to talk to Judd about what happened, and he says he can't explain the mysteries that the ancient burial ground holds. Louis is astounded to see Church attacking Ellie, and even eating a bird alive. A supposedly calm Church is now aggressive. He hisses at everyone and stinks. Louis again has one of the episodes where Victor warns him of the destruction coming toward his family. While Rachel is discarding the poor bird, she is haunted by Zelda, which makes her gasp for air. Louis is scared to see her pale face and asks her what happened. Unable to explain, she shares that it might have been a mistake moving to this place. Louis reminds her Ellie's birthday is coming up, so they can have a party just like they used to have in Boston. It would distract them from whatever they're going through. Louis is struggling with his belief system, put to the test by things he can't explain. But when he finds Church attacking Gage in his crib, he has had enough. He goes to meet Judd. Judd gives Louis a book that talks about the spirit, Wendigo, which is believed to be the reason that the ghosts come to life when buried in the land belonging to it. Judd apologizes because he didn't know that Church would come back evil. He blames the grounds, that they would find reasons to go back there once they have seen its powers. But sometimes leaving things in the afterlife is better. Louis tries to put Church down, but after a failed attempt, he decides to set him free in the jungle. At Ellie's birthday party, they're playing blind man's buff with Louis when Ellie hides near the road. She sees Church coming from a distance and runs towards him. She was upset that Church was gone, but now that he has come back, she couldn't control her excitement. Gage hides near the cars and sees Ellie running on the road. He runs behind her. Louis sees Gage dangerously close to the main road, which has trucks moving on it at high speed. His worst nightmare comes true when a truck approaches Gage at high speed. Louis is able to save Gage, but Ellie isn't so lucky and is hit by the truck's rear that came off when the driver, distracted by his phone, tries to apply the brakes and take a sharp turn to avoid hitting the little kid in the middle of the road. It is a tough time for the family. Rachel is not doing well, so Louis decides to send Rachel and Gage with her parents to stay at their home for a couple of days. Judd knows what Louis is thinking, and he won't let him go ahead with his plan, but Louis has made up his mind. He gives Judd a spiked drink that evening when he goes to sit with him in his front yard. Judd soon falls asleep, and Louis goes to exhume Ellie's body. He then carries Ellie's body to the forbidden grounds. Victor's ghost tries to stop him, but he apologizes. Victor tries taking Gage's help and haunts him, trying to make Rachel go back home. Exhausted by the rush of emotions, he comes back home after burying Ellie on the forbidden ground. He takes out a pair of fresh clothes for her when she arrives. He has fallen asleep, but wakes up to the creaking of the door. He finds Church in the house and the main door open. He goes outside to see no one, but when he turns, he gasps, seeing the muddy footprints, indicating Ellie has come back. He follows the footprints to the basement and gets startled when Ellie shows up behind him, her whole body covered in mud. Composing himself quickly, he hugs his daughter, glad that she's home. He cleans her up, but her hair is tangled, and her head still has many stitches stapled to keep her head from opening up. The right side of her face is swollen and drooping from the impact, and she's as pale as a ghost. She remembers everything from the day of her birthday party and realizes she is gone, but Louis doesn't accept that. He says she's here, and that's what matters. In the morning, he finds Ellie dancing, but not how she used to. She's more aggressive and destroys things as she dances. Rachel has been calling Louis the entire day, but he isn't picking up. So she heads back with Gage, but gets stuck in a traffic jam. She calls Judd to check up on Louis and explains the situation to him. Ellie, almost mockingly, asks Louis what he's going to tell her mom about her. Judd goes to check on Louis, but Louis brushes him off, saying he's busy. Judd believes he's onto something and says it is not too late to make things right, but Louis doesn't want to hear anything. It feels ominous, and his fears come true when Judd sees Ellie in the window. He runs to his house and locks the door. For his safety, he grabs a gun, but he's stabbed in his Achilles heel by Ellie, which makes him fall from the stairs, knocking his gun out of his hand. He sees his deceased wife Norma and Ellie, who blames him for Louis' miseries because he introduced that place to him. Judd tries one more time to get his weapon, but Ellie doesn't give him a chance and stabs him. Louis calls out to Ellie, but she doesn't respond. Rachel and Gage soon reach back home, and Rachel hugs Louis, seeing that he's doing okay. But when she sees his bloody hands and mud-covered shoes, she asks what happened. Louis says he wasn't ready to let go of Ellie, and as Ellie walks towards Rachel, he tells her about the place beyond the cemetery that brings things back. Rachel is scared, seeing her daughter in front of her, talking to her. Ellie hugs her, but Rachel is scared beyond comprehension. She can't bring herself to touch her. Rachel picks Gage up and goes upstairs to put him to bed. Louis follows and looks almost manic as he tries to explain his actions. Rachel doesn't want to believe that it is her daughter downstairs. She's repulsed by the fact that Louis dug out their daughter from her grave. Louis sees Ellie's shadow from outside the room and goes to convince her that her mom needs some time, but she's gone. He thinks she's gone to Judd's place and goes to his house while Ellie grabs a knife and goes to see her mom. Rachel is haunted by Zelda, and she sees her bones twisted like Zelda's, but she soon wakes up from this nightmare and realizes she had fallen asleep, but her nightmare becomes a reality when Ellie attacks her with a knife. Her motherly instincts give her the strength to tackle evil Ellie and carry Gage to safety, even after being stabbed. She blocks the door behind her, so Ellie can't get to them, but Ellie is too strong and she repeatedly pushes the door to make a slit. Louis finds Judd's body and realizes what a blunder he has made. Rachel breaks the window and tries to get Gage down, but it is too high. Louis soon reaches her, and Rachel leaves Gage's hand to drop him into his dad's arms. Louis locks Gage in the car and instructs him not to open the car for anybody. He goes inside, but Rachel has been stabbed many times. She is very weak, but she manages to ask Louis not to bury her in those cursed grounds. Ellie sneaks behind Louis and attacks him with a chair, knocking him off. She then drags Rachel to the prohibited ground, so she shares the same fate as hers. Louis gains consciousness and runs to the cemetery, but Rachel has already been buried. Louis gets attacked by Ellie in the pet cemetery. He tries his best to overpower her, and as he's about to eliminate her for good, he gets impaled by Rachel, who has resurrected and has lost her humanity. Together, they take Louis to the area beyond the pet cemetery to make him one with the land of the walking spirits. We're taken back to the first scene, where Louis, Rachel, and Ellie have just lit Judd's house on fire and are walking toward Gage. Church climbs on the bonnet of the car, and Louis looks at him through the window. Innocent Gage thinks his family is back, and everything goes black, while the car's beeping sound unlocking the door is heard.